Welcome to Trust the Process, episode 86, the series where we are trying to be our best drawing selves. In this episode, we are challenged by a fierce, relentless drawing drill sergeant. I'm talking about martial art Vandruff, and he's daring us to do drawing pull-ups.
What's your sole purpose in this army?
To do whatever you tell me, Drill Sergeant.
And this drawing pull-up exercise I want to show you today is an exercise which is enhancing our spatial imagination and ultimately enables us to draw better drawings from imagination. And as always, this video is intended for mental support for your creative battles. And because even before war or battle, there's a warm-up phase, and this happens in this case as well. I've done all the practical and helpful drawing exercises that get us up to speed, that get some first lines on the digital white paper. And in this case, I was doing some gesture exercises. They are quick, they are fun, and yes, they are helpful. The drawing exercise then I was talking about is the so-called 90-degree study. And the drill to do exactly that is as follows. The idea here is to take a reference picture and move the camera in your mind in 90 degrees. So for example, we're looking at someone running from a side view, and in our imagination we want to rotate the camera and draw his front view. And this does a lot of helpful things for us in the sense of spatial imagination and imagination in general. The step-by-step guide then goes something like this. At least that's the way I went about it. First, I picked reference material, and this is maybe a tricky part because you have to have basically two reference photos. One where the camera stands in a side view, and one of the same picture, the same pose the person is doing in a front view. If you want to do this in a very easy way, just look at Marshall Vandruff's video. He has got two examples. I'm drawing them as well. Link is in the description. Then for me, the next step was to take the first picture. So start with whichever side you like. For example, the side view, and blend out the front view. You're only gonna check with the front view once you've done the rotation in your mind. So take one of the views, and I started with doing a gesture drawing of it. Then in the next step, I took this gesture drawing and simplified it into three structural masses. So basically I built three boxes and thought about how they are displayed in 3D space. In some cases, this step can be daunting because already for this step alone, take aside the gesture drawing, there are a lot of skills and experience necessary. So this is not a beginner step. And if you're having trouble with it, I recommend the site Drawing a Box, where you will get a more intuitive training of drawing those basic boxes in space. But nevertheless, once you manage to draw your boxes in space and you established position and rotation in 3D space, the next step is to rotate the camera of the scene in a 90-degree way. So, for example, if you're starting in side view, you are imagining what the camera would see if the camera would stand in front of the person. And a helpful idea, or a helpful tool in this case, is not to rotate the person with full detail, which would be way too complex, but just rotate those simple 3D boxes. This is already challenging enough. And then the next step is more like a cherry on top. It's not necessary, but I thought it was fun. I then took the rotated boxes, which I rotated in my mind, and tried to do a gesture drawing of those rotated boxes. So at the end, you have got the initial gesture drawing of the reference picture you actually have. Then you have the end result is a rotated gesture drawing, 90 degrees. And it's a fun thing to compare it to the actual rotated person and see where you landed. Did you do it correctly? And there are a lot of things to think about and learn from this. It's like this initial direct feedback, which is really fun. Yeah, and there you have it. This is basically the exercise. It's a word of warning. Marshall also talks about it in his video. This is not a beginner exercise, but it's a really helpful one. And if you're just starting out, as I said, I would recommend concerning yourself with drawing the simple 3D boxes first. Yes, and because one drawing pull-up gets you nowhere, I've done the same thing again, and did a second run, which started off really well. This was the second example from Marshall's video, which I think started in the side view, so the other way around. And where I struggled was in the pelvis form, in the simplification process. But what really helped me there, or got me over the monkey bar, was taking a physical box, which was lying on my desk. And it really helped spatial understanding. So I just turned the physical box and immediately got a grip of it. And so yes, this pull-up was challenging, and also the end result didn't quite fit. For example, the arms were off, and I was feeling like, hey, I'm slipping the monkey bars. But at the end, I think it was a good thing to simplify the 90-degree studies to the 3 masses, because as you can see in Marshall's video, he's also doing arms and rotating cylinders for arms. But for me, it was, I think a good thing to stay focused on the 3 masses. I'm telling you, this is already challenging enough, at least for me. Yes, feeling desperate, nearly falling off the monkey bars. I had only one thing to do, and this is to turn to Captain America for run 3. Yeah, I took Captain America as a reference, and as the second run, it started off very well, and I get going really fast, and it was fun, and it was Captain America. But then I really began to struggle, and this was with dealing with boxes that are rotated around 2 axes. In Marshall's videos, I think he took very beginner-friendly boxes that were really easy to draw and not complicated rotations. But in the example I picked, this is like, I really struggled to get my head around it. But yeah, basically, that's then already my summary of it. The summary was it wasn't pretty, but I fought through, and I think this is the first insight here. It's challenging. You will be struggling. You will be sweating, but it's a really helpful exercise. And yeah, most of all, I learned something. And to summarize those things, is the first is to use physical objects. So if you got, it just has to be a simple box in a physical space, and looking at it and challenge you to rotate it can rotate it can really help. And as Marshall said, horizontal lines can be a really nice fallback, where you make those horizontal lines from your, for example, side view to a horizontal line, and you have you will have certain points that just match on those lines. That's helpful as well. Yeah, at the end, Marshall got the best of me, but I learned a lot, and I like it. Yeah, and by the way, I really like Marshall and his way of teaching. So, love Marshall. And then also, what better way is there to learn than from the master himself? So, go check out his video. Link is in the description below.